This week's channeled message is a meditation to help us find balance and freedom. So welcome back to my channel, you guys. I am so glad you are here with me. And then for those of you who are new, welcome to the channel. My name is Ann Tucker. I'm a trance channel. I channel from the angelic realm, and I do that by going into a deep meditative state or trance. And from that state, I raise my awareness as high as I can go, a little higher. I connect, and then messages, information, and healing comes through, and I share it here with you guys on YouTube. And this week's message is something different. So a couple weeks ago, I had an interesting experience. The angels came through and they said, they said a great guide is coming. And so naturally, I was very intrigued. A few moments later, an energy came through, a new energy, which is the energy of creation. And it's a feminine energy, beautiful energy. And she's been coming through and working with me for the past couple weeks. And she kind of has crept in around the edges of some of the other things I've done. But today she is like loud and in charge. Today she ran the meditation. And when she comes through with the angels, that they work together. So she comes through, and this time, so as you listen to today's meditation, the angels will be with you and guiding you through it. But it is her consciousness, it's her perspective. And so the interesting thing about working with her is that she doesn't try to teach so much through explaining. She tries to teach through feeling. She tries to give us a lived experience of some of these really huge sort of cosmic themes. And she's super, super cosmic. She sees things from like the biggest perspective. And so she tries to take us there, to take us into a place where we can experience ourselves differently. And that's what this meditation is all about. So it's very, very profound and yet simple at the same time. It's absolutely beautiful. And so if you want to listen through the meditation the first time, just let it wash over you. Don't focus on trying to understand it, because that's the point, is to get into our heart. Just let it take you there. And then afterwards, I will read it through with you and break it down, and we can talk about sort of the layers, because they have been guiding us towards this type of experience of ourselves for a long time now. And there's deepening. I feel like we're getting into like the master classes, like master's degree level of concepts with some of this stuff, and it's easy to miss a lot. So even though you will be able to understand the meditation without me explaining it, I think we can get to a little bit more richness through talking about it afterwards. So it's there for you if you are interested. I will put in the timestamps in the description box below where the meditation starts, and then also where the conversation afterwards starts, so it's easy for you guys to find. So I also wanted to invite you, if you are free Saturday, tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific, I would love for you to come and join me. I'm going to be live here on YouTube. We're going to be talking about soul convergence. It's going to be starting again in June, mid-June. June, what is it, the 15th? It's a Saturday. I think it's the 15th or the 14th. Anyways, coming up. And soul convergence, if you're not aware, is it's really the deepest healing that I offer. It's a group program, and it is a series of, there's two separate sections that are 11 weeks each. It is an amazingly transformative process. We've been running it through with multiple large groups now, and the results have been amazing, absolutely amazing. So I would love for you to come and learn more about it. If you are looking for help, if you're looking for a way to process sort of the depths of what's there, it's really hard to access it on your own. I would love for you to come and learn more about soul convergence. So I have learned a ton more through experiencing it, through offering it for the last, several months. And now I understand a whole lot more about how it works. So we'll just be talking, we'll be answering questions about it. And so just come hang out with me. Saturday, 10 a.m. YouTube. So hopefully you guys can make it. All right, enjoy the message. And if you are in a good space to get quiet and to get into a serene state of mind for this meditation, you can experience it as a meditation. So I highly suggest close your eyes, get quiet, get settled. Get grounded, let your body drift down into the earth, and then now we will begin. Beings of light, the foreshadowing of the night draws near, and we wish to bring to your point of attention all that springs forward, all that is abundance, all that will transform your knowledge of who you are. We wish to draw you into the quiet and gentle reflection of your inner being, to draw you into the very center point, the instigation of thought and awareness,
The central point of who you are is centered in the heart space, the origin point of your very beginning. And within this space there is quiet, not solitude, but serenity, a space within which you may feel yourself lengthening across time, across dimensions. Within this space you may seek your own heart, your central sun, your guidance point of reference. Within this space you might expand your horizons beyond the known energies of your experience. We draw you here quietly, serenely, in the moments between the chaos of understanding, away from the dissection of knowledge, into the space of open, without understanding, leaning forward, and in between the moments, we ask you, guide you gently to investigate yourself without the opportunity for second guessing, the quiet reflection of no mind, within the space of felt operation, a space within which your heart reveals itself, the guidance comes clearer. Here we say the deferral of one such as yourselves is to rely upon thought form, to rely upon the historical contexts that bridge your time. And between the moments of your comprehension, we say there sits a softer, more gentle, and yet more powerful way of navigating your world. Within this space of felt understanding, where comprehension has no bounds, within the space of I feel, the soft serenity reveals itself. To sit quietly within your own space without disturbance, to investigate nothing but to simply be, and to sink deeper and deeper into that space, your central sun, and let it envelop yourself, to let the gentle guidance rise in between the breath and the moments of time until time exists no more, and you are alone in the softness, in the gentle serenity of your own beginnings. And here at this space, do not turn back to the mind. Let it be free. Release it and simply breathe into the softness. Feel yourself an investigation of formless surrender. Let the mind dwell upon the felt sensations of the body. It occupies itself here. Let it drift among and between what is felt in the elbow, in the wrist, in the ribs. Let it be itself in wandering. And be your own hive mind at the center of yourself. Let this be the existence you are focused upon, and draw yourself nearer and nearer and nearer to the central sun, the flame of your own divinity, and stay within it and regard nothing external to where you are. Let the self beat in surrender to this, and find the moments gliding by, timeless, external. Do not let thought dictate your experience now. Hover gently within this space as though context has no meaning, and you simply are and could be in any environment equally felt, as though there is nothing external but who you are, as though nothing surrounds you now. Empty, all that is, and dwell closer to this central point, and become enshadowed no more. Let the heart dwell within itself and find the repeated patternings of center and center point revealing itself, mirrored reflections one upon another, as if each realization of your center point reveals a further deeper center within itself, as though you can go to infinite points of inner reflection, as though the deeper you go, the deeper you are, and allow yourself to pursue, to enter the deeper and deepening states. For there is no point of surrender that is too far to go. Allow yourself this cascade of drifting deeper and deeper into the moments that reveal themselves where you are. And shallow no more shall feel your surrender to this point, as though the ripples of existence stay where you are and simply ricochet in between the moments that you know. In the deepening folds of surrender, you find a depth of who you are, a quiet certitude of new beginnings, as if with each point of surrender, as you allow yourself to cascade into the well of your own self-understanding, your comprehension grows in its endowment of what you are. There is a centering point, a horizon point, before you now, as you release all that is, all that surrounds you now. Allow yourself this enfoldment unto a dais, a platform of serenity, a simple stage of self, of soul, where nothing surrounds you. An open and encircled platform which you may climb upon, that steps lift you onto this hallowed ground, and you are still and you sit, and you are surrounded by the nothingness of the all-powerful of what you are, and you stay in this encircled space and breathe as though nothingness transforms you, as though the very beingness of being without is enough to move your heart into greater experiences of your own freedom. And simply be. Do not attempt to create, to move, to endow this space with other than what you are. To be here within this serenity is all that is required. And to expand your awareness in such a way that all that would transport you from here is pushed out and beyond your awareness. And the quiet reflects only what you are. Expansive heartbeat dictates your surroundings, and feel only this, and the mind occupies itself with the gentle guidance of each beat. And allow yourself these feelings to interrupt the silence. The careful guardians of who and what you are, these feelings shall rise and play upon your surroundings and dictate what you see. And fear nothing, for what you are is whole and endowed with the grace of divinity. Fear not what shall play out upon these fields of gentle horizon that meet your internal eye. Let them rise and play at your feet. Let them come into creation and subside in rhythmic bounty. And simply be with them and be in the serenity of yielding to what is within you. Be in this space, breathing, watching, being, and let the heartbeat, each beat, dictate what shall rise into presence around you. The gentle grasses and fields that extend to the horizon, the openness, the calm, the peace, and then rising into the simplicity, into form and balance. Find unity. Find the forms as they dance in their transparence, in their physicality as they rise into presence with you. Allow them to come together and meet in the center of who you are. Allow these frames of reference, that dialogue as you interpret them from the center of who you are, to come into form and to move to the center, the central sun of your own presence, as if you radiate from now into all realities that have ever been. And these risings, these simple expansions of yourself that rise into form represent the incarnations within which you have dwelt. And fear them not. Let them rise and cascade down again and balance themselves in repetitive patterns. See as they rise and play out against each other, one form against the next, and be with them as you are presence, as you witness the dialogue that plays out at your feet, the abundance that surrounds you, the inner dialogue of your own expressions. Let them rise as flowers, as cities. Let them become and fade, rise and fall, and play against each other now, and find balance, harmonic rhythm. Let them meet each other now in dialogue with one another as you simply observe the movement, the cascades of energy moving across the grasses, the flowers. What will yield? What will rise? What will fall? Let them be. Judge nothing. Understand nothing. Simply be. Be the formless endowment of presence that witnesses the dialogue of your internal world as it plays out abundantly before you, being earnestly with all that is within your heart, allowing it, being with it, without comprehending, categorizing. The simple beat of your heart animates all things that move before you now. The simple beat, a cacophony of experience radiates from your heart space, as if carrying the inner dialogue of your very soul. And this you are watching play out at your feet, like a screen of grass. And inner harmonies, inner turmoils, inner fightings of resistance and pushing. And these are not felt so much as observed. And let them be free to be what they are. Be the witness of your journeys. Be in the center space of quiet while you perform this now. And be your own witness, breathing into the quiet, deepening your experience, deepening your dialogue with this understanding, deepening your quiet, allowing the self to yield to what you are, yield to this observing, and letting all that plays out before you now rise up into the celestial heavens and endow this entire space within which you sit with all that you are, as if you are in the center of the cosmos, watching the swirling undertakings of a million universes play out amongst themselves. But all that is in view is what you are, and you are the central sun in dialogue with all that has ever been. And you allow these aspects of who you are, the cacophony of experiences, to play, to be, to rise and fall. And in their own internal dialogues with one another, they find their balance through repetition, through expression, through internalizing their own experiences, by allowing themselves to become replete with the inharmonious expressions that bounce and reform and replay and then come into congruence through this expressive dialogue. And you may simply be at the center of all that is your own soul in this quiet and private temple of forgiveness. Allow yourself to soak in the understanding of your own body, of your body as an expression of its own wisdom, an expression of the harmony that wishes to come into truce with what you are. Without resistance, all falls into place. All moves into presence with itself. Without resistance, all comes into its own service. In this space of peace, of internal aspected confidence, of your own sense of satisfaction within expression, you find yourself again. You find internal harmony. You find yourself the observer of all that you are from a quiet place of reflection. And these placements, these dialogues that emanate from your heart space, these truths that are spoken from within you, find their freedom from the chaos of confinement to the freedom of expression. And each breath is a release, a release, a release. And allow yourself to simply be, breathing in the gentleness of the breezes that meet you, understanding your horizons expand to infinity, and the dialogue is never done. But the graces you shall meet that shall rise before you come into harmony when the presence that you expand is one of freedom. Freedom to be, the gentleness at your center, the internal harmony that is your truth, the understanding self is where you meet. Breathing now and allowing yourself to rise from this space like a flower of perfection, rising up and back through the layers of your consciousness, blooming like a single stem as the petals of a daisy expand in a circumference, guiding you upward, lifting, rising, a single stem, up and through you rise back into the presence of your body. And within this space, you carry your freedom to be, your freedom of placement into this reality, the exchange, the dialogue of unity from within, the harmony that you have found may balance your internal chaos. Allow a breath. Allow your heart to beat. And allow its expression, the freedom that it seeks. We bless you.
All right. Welcome back, you guys. So hopefully that was all clear on your end. Hopefully that all worked. How are you guys doing? You ready to talk about it? So that's her. That is the energy of creation. And I think it's so amazing that she's trying to explain a really deep concept, but rather than trying to explain it in a way that we understand it with our head, she shows it to us by letting us feel it with our heart, which I think is so amazing. And I sing beautiful and deep. Yeah, absolutely. Very, very zen. Totally. And it was amazing to me. So first channeling this, of course, you guys know I don't usually get all the meaning of it, but when I printed it out and read it, it's deep, deep, deep stuff, but in such a simple, easy, flowy way, which is what I love. It's like there's nothing about this where you don't need a graduate degree to understand it, because we're feeling it ourselves, right? So it makes these really big concepts. It brings them down to a level that we just get it, which is so cool. Yeah, you're saying super zen, beautiful. Wow, this is Patty. I love it, love it, love it. So let's break it down a little bit and just talk through. And it's long, and like I said, if you listen back to it, you'll get more and more of the words. But I just want to kind of point out some of the points that are, I think, what they're really talking about, what's really happening here. And like I said, when she comes through, she came through with the angels. So you each had angels guiding you through this process, but it's her perspective, this energy of creation. It's how she sees things. And it's so, there's so much presence and so much love in it, right? And it's so in this like infinite potential is how I would describe her. It's incredible. Yeah. And Susan says, wow, I could see colors beating with my heart. Oh, that is awesome. Super awesome. Yeah, I think this is one that we could do again and again, this meditation. I feel like it's something that every time you do it, you're going to get more out of it. So they start out saying in the beginning, so they're talking about how they want to bring us to our point of attention. They want to bring us to all that is abundance, all that will transform your knowledge of who you are. And it's so interesting. They start out, how are we going to transform how we know ourselves? It's by letting us feel ourselves, right? By being outside of our head and in the very, very depth of our heart. So cool, right? Amina could see purple, green, and pink. Ooh, I love it. That is so cool. Yeah, yeah. And Anna says, oh my gosh, I had a dream some years ago, a floating daisy flower right in front of me with a single stem. Reminds me so much of this concept. Yeah, super, super cool, Anna. So, all right, so they're kind of telling us in the beginning what this is about, kind of getting us prepared. They say the central point of who you are is centered in the heart space, the origin point of your very beginning. And within this space, there is quiet, right? There's no solitude, but serenity. So in other words, we're never alone, but there is this absolute peace at the center of who we are. And they say a space within which you may feel yourself lengthening across time, across dimensions. Within this space, you may seek your own heart, your central sun, your guidance point of reference. So this is where we're going in the meditation, to this central, the deepest part of ourself. And they go on to say, within this space, you might expand your horizons beyond the known energies of your experience. So this is how we get in touch with the all that is, which is where we're going, right? In the shift in consciousness. So this is good. They go on to say, we draw you here quietly, serenely, in the moments between the chaos of understanding. And so I love that they really turn us on our ear about what understanding is when we lead with the head. And they do that on purpose because we have so much reverence for the mind in our culture. Like we put everything as science, everything is what do you think rather than what do you feel, you know? And I find that to be just the biggest. If you're ever in conversation and you want that conversation to get out of talking about the weather and into something deep, rather than every time you're about to say what do you think, say what do you feel. And it takes the conversation in a totally new direction, right? It makes it real. It makes it where you're talking about the real stuff. Yeah, it's a super cool conversational technique. Yeah. So they take us, as they're saying, between the chaos of understanding, which means that when we think about things, we are actually creating chaos in our internal harmony, that the mind introduces chaos because it creates separation. And they talked about this in last week's message, that the heart creates unity, the head creates separation. So knowledge creates chaos because separation is chaos. Yeah. So they go on to say, away from the dissection of knowledge into the space of open without understanding, leaning forward and in between the moments, we guide you gently to investigate yourself without the opportunity for second guessing, the quiet reflection of no mind. So that's where we're going. Then they say, within the space of felt operation, a space within which your heart reveals itself, the guidance becomes clearer. Here, you say, the deferral of one such as yourselves is to rely upon thought form. So they're saying this is what we usually do, right? We're usually stuck in our thoughts. That's how we approach things, is when we find something new, we try to figure it out. We compare it to what we've known. We try to fit it into a category. We understand it by comparing it to other things that we think are like it. That's how we understand things. But understand, every time we do that, we are introducing chaos to the system because we're using our mind, which creates separation between things as opposed to unity. So it's very much a fry your brain experience to try to get to really what they're trying to do here, which is to give us an experience of unity, which we cannot accomplish by figuring it out. We cannot get there through the mind. They're saying the very idea of getting there through the mind is flawed because the mind creates separation. So the only way to get there is through stuff like this, where we have to go into the heart and just feel it. We have to be it. We have to just exist in it and just be it without thinking. And that's the only way to really understand unity, right? So, which is not understanding it, it's being it. So it's really like, yeah, it's like even trying to talk about it is that thing like trying to talk about dancing, is that you just can't encompass all of it, right? Until we get there. So, but they're really trying to help us. So the quiet reflection of no mind. Then they say, within the space of felt operation, So that is going into the heart, a space within which your heart reveals itself. The guidance becomes clearer. Here we say, oh, I just said that. The deferral of one such as yourselves is to rely upon thought form, to rely upon the historical context that bridge your time. So that's that idea that we understand things through comparison. And between the moments of your comprehension, we say there sits a softer, more gentle, and yet more powerful way of navigating your world. Within this space of felt understanding where comprehension has no bounds. So they've been talking to us, like this is so important because they've been talking to us about our sixth sense, about how we're supposed to be moving into a way of feeling each other. And that sixth sense is going to open up so much more understanding than our five senses have given us historically. So much more so that the five senses will become still there and we'll still use them, but they won't have nearly as much importance in our world. All of a sudden, the sixth sense will be the way that it's like going from reading a book to full color movies where it's just like, wow, it explodes with information, right? And context and meaning and all this stuff. And although reading can do that in your own mind. So maybe I should say from radio to full picture movies. That's a better comparison. So they're trying to tell us that we're trying to set aside our way of comprehending and live in this new state by getting into the heart space. That's how we create this new telepathic connection that we're going to have where we will learn to navigate from the heart. And it's not that our brains are going to get faster. It's not that we're going to understand things faster. It's we're going to learn to not rely on our brains anymore. And not that the brain is gone, like the brain is still very useful. And they described it in one of our past sessions. They talked about that the brain is almost like the word that pops up is like amalgamator, that it kind of takes things from our felt expression and it connects them to up there, and it becomes a connector to the knowledge of all that is. So think of it like this. I think in technology, there's a thing where you have a database and then you have to have an interface with the database which pulls information from the database and provides it. And that, I think, is what the brain becomes. Rather than right now the brain holds the knowledge, right? Then brain, as we go to the knowledge, and what else can we cram in there, to hold in our brain, and that's all we get. Which totally makes me think of when I was a little kid. My brother used to have tons, billions of vinyl albums. And I never wanted to learn the lyrics of the songs because I thought I would fill my brain up. And I wouldn't have room for anything I needed in school. And I think that's kind of what this is like, is that we have the little brain, which is what we think is the only tool we have. And as we grow through this shift, we realize that the brain is meant to be just the interface between our felt experience and the greater knowledge of the all. And it helps to bring things down and through to our felt experience. At least that's how I understood the message we got several weeks ago. So I know there's so many concepts in this, you guys, and it's hard if you're just jumping in. If this is your first time hearing this stuff, I know it's the concepts are huge, but I really feel like they're helping us to break them down into pieces, little pieces. And hopefully we can just lay one piece on top of another, and it takes us there. You know what I mean? So yeah. And then, and you're saying, Sharon says, I've been stuck in a mental loop. This was just perfect. That is awesome. And Carrie says, I sense pure white all around me. Strange because I usually see colors when I meditate or go deep. Oh, isn't that interesting? So in that sense, the colors would have represented for you more distraction and the white is more clarity. That's cool. And good morning, John from New Zealand. Great to have you with us. And Aaliyah says, I felt vibrations of my chakras. And at some point I started rotate counterclockwise, observing emptiness. So real. I'll try that again. So powerful. Wow. That is really cool. Okay. So then they go on to say, where comprehension has no bounds. Within the space of I feel, the soft serenity reveals itself, to sit quietly within your own space without disturbance, to investigate nothing, to simply be, and to sink deeper and deeper into that space, your central sun, and let it envelop yourself, to let the gentle guidance rise in between the breath and the moments of time until time exists no more. And you are alone in the softness, in the gentle serenity of your own beginnings. So it's how do we find the space? It's we're still existing, and it's just moment by moment, by following the breath, by finding the space between the breaths and letting them stretch out. So it's almost like the quiet, the stillness gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? Until time, you forget time and it goes away and you lose yourself in the silence. And that's sort of the pathway to get there. And they say, and here at this space, do not turn back to the mind. Let it be free. So we're not trying to capture or contain the mind. That's super important, because if we contract anything, it fights it and it becomes louder. So we have to let the mind be free. We have to not grab it and hold on to it. So just observe the mind. Don't like, shut up, mind. That's not what we want to do. We want to be like, I love you, mind. Just be free. Just don't talk to me, but be free. Don't turn back. Don't turn back to the mind. Let it be free. Release it and simply breathe into the softness. Feel yourself an investigation of formless surrender. Let the mind dwell upon the felt sensations of the body. So this is how we occupy the mind. Let the mind run around and do its thing, but like direct it. It says it occupies itself here. Let it drift among and between what is felt in the elbow, in the wrist, in the ribs, right? Let it be itself and wandering. So if the mind is just wandering, it's not fixating on anything, as long as it's not trying to figure something out, right? That's going to pull your attention back to it. The mind can just notice, and that's okay. But as long as you're not focused, like, oh, what was that? Like, what is that I just heard? Or what is that I just felt? Maybe I'm getting cancer in my wrist, like, not that. We don't want to go there. Like, let it just run around like a little bee, just buzz around and just ignore it. And then they go on to say, where was it? Okay. And be your own hive mind. Funny, I just mentioned bees. Be your own hive mind at the center of yourself. Let this be the existence you are focused upon, and draw yourself nearer and nearer and nearer to the central sun, the flame of your own divinity. So this is what we're trying to approach, is really the source of your own divinity. And stay with it. They say, regard nothing external to where you are. Let the self beat in surrender to this, and find the moments gliding by, timeless, external. So this is what we're trying to get to. Do not let, and they're guiding us through this. So as you're listening to this, use this meditation. Just know this is where you are. And don't worry if you're not there yet. Like, they're going to guide us as we keep going. So just continue to just let yourself flow with it as you listen. Do not let the thought dictate your experience now. However, hover gently within the space as though context has no meaning, and you simply are and could be in any environment equally felt, as though there is nothing external but who you are. As though nothing surrounds you now, empty, all that is, and dwell closer to this central point. So this is an interesting thing. If you're assuming that everything around you is just you, and say, for example, you're in the middle of this meditation, and then like there's noise outside, like the garbage people come and they pick up the garbage and they make a noise. You're in this space, you can just be like, and that's part of who I am. And it doesn't distract you, because it's just part of you, right? It's just like, oh, you notice it because it's just part of this whole practice. So then they go on to say, and become enshadowed no more. Let the heart dwell within itself and find, this is super interesting, the repeated patternings of center and center point revealing itself. Mirrored reflections, one upon another, as if each reflection of your center point reveals a further, deeper center within itself. So this is that idea of when you're standing in front of a mirror and the other one's angled, and you can see yourself reflected, and where you can see like an infinite number of your reflection. So this is like you're looking down into a well, and you think you see inside the one well, but then inside of that well is another well, another well, another well, another well, and you're going down these wells, and it's just infinite, and you're just going another layer, going deeper to get closer and closer to the center of your heart. And that's kind of the metaphor that we're using, is this idea of to see yourself going from layer and layer and layer. Right, a further deeper center within itself, as though you can go to infinite points of inner reflection, as though the deeper you go, the deeper you are. And then they say, allow yourself to pursue, to enter the deeper and deepening states, for there is no point of surrender that is too far to go. Allow yourself this cascade of drifting deeper and deeper into the moments that reveal themselves where you are. So this is the state that we are. So this is kind of, if you're following the meditation, this is kind of that state that you're in right now, where you've gone down into this deep well. Shallow no more shall you feel your surrender to this point, as though the ripples of existence stay where you are and simply ricochet in between the moments that you know. So they're saying this is where we usually are. We usually are in this space where your consciousness is, if you imagine that the surface of now is like a flat body of water, a flat lake, and you are a drip. Your consciousness drips down and creates a ripple that moves out, and it's one plane, right? It's just one ripple that just goes, and then another ripple that just goes. And they're saying, so they're describing it like that's how we usually exist, just in this flat, the surface. We exist on the surface, and we just watch the ripples as they extend out from us and interact with everything else that's in the lake. And they're saying that now we're going past that, down into the lake and into the next lake and the next lake and the next lake, right to the center. Yeah. So they say, in the deepening folds of surrender, you find a depth of who you are, a quiet certitude of new beginnings, as if with each point of surrender, you allow yourself to cascade into the well of your own self-understanding. Your comprehension grows in its endowment of what you are. And so this is the important thing as we're doing this, is to not expect comprehension in the mind. We have to expect it in the heart, right? We have to expect that what comprehension means is that we're able to embody this experience more deeply, that we're able to go deeper into the experience and not worry about what we're understanding. We're trying to exist in a new way, and they're trying to guide us how to do it. So yeah, and it's not easy, I know, because we don't have a lot of experience of this. So then they go on to say, there is a centering point, a horizon point before you now as you release all that is, all that surrounds you now. So here they're trying to bring us, we've reached the greatest depth they're going to take us to. And they say, okay, now we're going to center, right? A centering point. And then they say, allow yourself this unfoldment onto a dais, or dais, D-A-I-S, dais, I think, which is, and then they say a platform of serenity. So it's almost like you come in, and this is when we come into this idea of like we've arrived at this beautiful sort of sacred temple. They say, onto a dais, a platform of serenity, a simple stage of self and soul where nothing surrounds you. So we're in this total place of peace at this point. An open and encircled platform that you may climb upon, that steps and lifts you onto this hallowed ground, and you are still and you sit, and you are surrounded by the nothingness of the all-powerful of what you are. And you stay in this encircled space and breathe as though nothingness transforms you. So love that. Absolutely love that idea. As though just the being, as though nothingness is transformative, right? So we're just staying in this really sacred space on this temple, your own temple of you. And then they say, and I highlighted this part, they said, as though the very beingness of being without, or the very beingness of being without is enough to move your heart into greater experiences of your own freedom. Simply be. Do not attempt to create, to move, to endow the space with other than what you are. To be here within this serenity is all that is required. And to expand your awareness in such a way that all that would transport you from here is pushed out and beyond your awareness. The quiet reflects only what you are. And they go on to say, expansive heartbeat dictates your surroundings. Feel only this, and the mind occupies itself with the gentle guidance of each beat. Allow yourself these feelings to interrupt the silence. So this is now that we've come to a place of total stillness, that we've reached this sort of beautiful temple, this platform that you're standing or sitting on, and then into that silence, the heart is beating, right? Every beat goes out, radiates from you, and then from the heart, we start to play our soul song. And the soul song starts to take form all around you because you've created space for it. We've quieted the mind, we've quieted our reality, we've gotten to a space of pure peace. And then from there, we start to see ourselves. So this is, but we're not seeing ourselves with here, we're seeing it with here. And we're remaining in the space of quiet observer. So they say, expansive heartbeat dictates your surroundings. Feel only this. And the mind occupies itself with the gentle guidance of each beat. So the mind can be focused on the heartbeat. Like everything's focused on just listen to the heartbeat, listen to it beating. Allow yourself these feelings to interrupt the silence, the careful guardians of who and what you are. These feelings shall rise and play upon your surroundings and dictate what you see. I love that idea of our feelings as careful guardians of who we are. That a lot of times we think of our feelings as the bad guys, that we don't want our feelings. You know, we would like to repress our feelings. We just think of our feelings as something we want to get rid of. You know, we just want to clear that. We call them blocks. You know, that's what we call our feelings. And they're saying, no, your feelings are the careful guardians of what you are. That even the things we want to clear is what we are. And our feelings are the gentle guardians. They hold and contain that information for us until we experience it. And then it's released, right? Until we understand ourselves. And then it's released. Yeah, so beautiful. It's just turned so much of how we've thought on its ear, doesn't it? That's how I feel. All right. And then they say, fear nothing, for what you are is whole and endowed with the grace of divinity. So no matter, like, sometimes it's scary to go into our depth. They're saying, don't worry about it. Like, you are whole, you are safe. There's nothing about you that you have to fear. Like, you are a sacred being. Even with all of our junk, we are sacred, right? And then they say, fear not what shall play out upon these fields of gentle horizon that meet your internal eye. Let them rise and play at your feet. And I love that they're playing at our feet, right? We are raised up on a platform, and our feelings, everything about ourselves is playing out below us, underneath us, around us. So you are the center, you are the divinity. And then all of this is just your experience. It doesn't control you. It doesn't make you. You are above it. It's below you. So I think that is important to notice, that we are not the slaves to our feelings, right? They are just describing us, that you are still at the center. Yeah. So let them come into creation and subside in rhythmic bounty. Simply be with them and be in the serenity of yielding to what is within you. So now you can imagine, as you're sitting in that platform, on that temple, circular temple, raised up with the grass around you, and from that grassy, it's almost like like a field, rising into form and then dissipating, rising into form and then dissipating. All around you are these experiences of yourself that come into form and then release, and come into form and then release. And you don't know, they just may show up as like shapes, or like a lot of you are saying, like colors. It may just all of a sudden be like purple over here and then it dissipates, and blue over here. Or it may be like you might see a scene or a person or a flower or an animal or anything. And it doesn't matter what it is. They're like, don't judge it. Like, just let it be whatever it is. Don't even try to understand it. Just let it be. Like, just see what happens. Let it go wild. Let it go crazy. And don't fear it. Just let it happen and just observe it. And then, yeah, so they're saying, let them rise and play at your feet. Yeah. And then they say, be in this space, breathing, watching, being. Let the heartbeat, each beat, dictate what shall rise into presence around you. So every time your heart beats, it's like new things are coming into presence. The gentle grasses and fields that extend to the horizon, the openness, the calm, the peace, and then rising into the simplicity, into form and balance, find unity. So this is what's interesting. So this is what they're really trying to guide us to, is that when we, and this to me is the message, when we allow ourselves to express freely, we naturally find balance. So all of our illness comes from resistance to what we are. Everything about us that is not harmonious internally, that's where our unhappiness comes from. That's where our karma comes from. That's where anything that we resist about ourselves. And so if you think about the whole nature of karma, that when we die and we go to the other side and we have a life review, and we see the things that maybe we did in that life that we wish we hadn't done, and we say, I kind of want do-overs on that one. Like, I wish I hadn't done it that way. I want to go back and try to make it right. That's our karma that we create for ourselves. And that is where we hold ourselves out of balance. We don't believe in our own perfection anymore. We say, yeah, I was flawed. I did something that I don't like. I want to be different. I want to do it differently. And so they're saying that in this space where we go to the center of our heart, to the center of our divinity, and we are in a place of perfect peace, and we just let ourselves, just let the heartbeat come out and just express and become and just do its thing. And we're not trying to hold anything back. There's nothing we don't want to see about ourselves. We just let it do its thing and we just observe. And when we let that happen, those things that are about us, they can express fully and come into balance. And that's the message. The message is, when we find our freedom, we find our balance. Yeah, when we set ourselves free, when we release our resistance, we find balance naturally, which is just so amazingly cool. We cannot think our way there, because thinking creates separation. We have to do it through our heart, because the heart creates unity. Yeah. And find the forms as they dance in their transparence, in their physicality, as they rise into presence with you. Allow them to come together and meet in the center of who you are. Allow these frames of reference, that dialogue, as you interpret them from the center of who you are, to come into form and to move into the center sun of your own presence, as if you radiate from now into all realities that have ever been. So it's really letting them come in and letting them be part of who you are, understanding that all of this is you. Everything you're seeing is part of you, right? And these risings, these simple expansions of yourself that rise into form, represent the incarnations within which you have dwelt. So these are like all of your past experiences. And it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to show up like a scene. It could be totally random, like a color, like a shape, like a a Jeep Cherokee, like whatever. It could be anything. And it's the fact that you're allowing it. You know what I mean? The fact that you're just letting it flow from you. Yeah. And you guys are saying, Georgie Porgy says, oh, where'd you go? I lost you. There you go, sending love. Oh, thank you so much. And Chris says, what a gift. The angels show us how it feels to connect to the space of peace and to go back again anytime. Yes, exactly, Chris. I totally agree. And Wendy says, our feelings are the gentle guardians. I know. Isn't that an amazing thought? I love that reclassification of what a feeling is. Yeah. Karen says, how do you distinguish between fear or false fear versus your intuition redirecting you, which could be possibly feel like fear too? So that is, I love that question. So in the heart, if you're feeling fear about something, that is coming from the brain. That the brain creates fear. The heart the heart is not fearful. The heart, it may say, go in this direction instead. The heart may redirect you and say, okay, that's not good for you, put it down, but it's not going to create fear. Because the heart knows that you're eternal. The heart knows that you are an eternal being. So why would it ever fear anything? So anytime we create fear, it is the mind reacting to something. So if you feel fear, you have to get to a space of clarity before you can discern what your heart is saying. So it could be a thing where it's like if you feel yourself getting like I have to do something, that is the brain trying to figure out, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? That's not the heart. And so when we feel fear, take a step back and recognize my brain is taking over. My brain is trying to figure something out. Anxiety comes from the experience of feeling like there's something that you should do, but you don't know what it is. That's where anxiety comes from. And so you just have to take a step back and say, okay, I have to get to peace with not knowing. I have to get to a place of peace with not knowing what's coming or what to expect or that I don't know what to do, and have to trust that my heart is going to lead me exactly where I need to go. And I cannot tell you, the more that I am willing to open up to that idea, open up to this idea that things are going to happen that I didn't even see it coming, but my heart prepared for it a long time ago. Like I put the groundwork in place and didn't even know I'd need it, Like I like things will go like, well, what happened? Well, I will go into a store and buy something and I'm not even really sure why I'm buying it. Like I don't usually buy that thing, but I just feel like it today, and I buy it and I get home, and then turns out that I'm seeing my friend that day and it's like their birthday and it's their favorite thing. And I'm like, oh, I bought this for you. Like it's like that, where the heart is taking care of you. The heart knows. And we're not supposed to be up here planning. This is the gradual moving into the experience of life, living from the heart, where we get the constant moments of serendipity is how I would phrase it. Like constant surprise, like, wow, look at that. Everything worked out. Like, isn't that a cool way to live? And not that, like, I certainly don't have that all the time, but I have flashes of it. I have big flashes of it. And it's and you guys do too, where you're like, oh, I was just thinking about that. And then that person called me, or like, oh my gosh, I was walking. I just got the perfect parking spot in the front, of wherever I was going. Like that happens to you. And those moments are perfect. And more and more and more. When we are not in resistance to something, then it's possible. Then balance, perfect unity happens for us. Yeah, it's so cool. Hopefully that helps, Karen. But yeah, so when you feel fear, and it's so awesome that you identify it as false fear. Yeah, that's very, very wise of you. But yeah, so just remember that that is the head talking always. Yeah. Anna says, this is so true that I can see and understand now. Oh, that is awesome. And Georgie loves it. Thanks, Georgie. Rebecca says, I have the same question. Okay, thank you for asking. So let me know, did that help, if that made sense for you guys? Because it can be a little bit hard to wrap our heads around sometimes. John says, I love this, and it feels like sitting in the classroom listening to one of my favorite teachers. Oh, that is so sweet. Thank you, John. And yeah, it is super cool the way they share with us, isn't it? I just love it. And Dawn says, so peaceful. I was able to trust and just be. Awesome. Third eye open, colorful balls of energy expanding and retracting over and over. That is super cool. Diane says there are over 4,000 neurons that connect the heart to the brain. Wow. Ooh, that is awesome. So yeah, so I think it's the biggest thing is as you're listening to this or as you're going through the meditation, if you do it again, is to not judge yourself as you're doing it, to recognize the whole point is that whatever shows up for you is part of your unique heart song, and just to let it play, let it do its thing. And however it shows up, you know what I mean? Even if you don't see anything, if you just feel things or hear things or nothing, if it's absolutely quiet, that's okay too. So just let it be. Let it be that's the idea, is to be free within yourself. Yeah, that's the goal, is freedom. Yeah. And then they say, here we are, fear them not, let them rise and so this is that idea, whatever is coming into form. They say, fear them not, let them rise and cascade down again and balance themselves in repetitive patterns. See as they rise and play out against each other, one form against the next, and be with them as you are presence. So this to me is huge cosmic understanding of our karmic existence is we have been in the process of trying to balance ourselves by living lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, going through repetitive patterns, which is exactly what they're saying. Let them rise and cascade down again and balance themselves in repetitive patterns, right? See as they rise and play out against each other. So this has been what we're trying to see play out in front of us is exactly what we have been living. And the goal has been to try to bring us, by letting them be free, letting it just express and be like, I have this in me, let me just blurt it out onto this field of expression. When we do that, it comes into balance. The challenge is that we get in the way. We're like, oh, I'm not allowed to say that, or it's not appropriate for me to have that feeling, or I really don't like myself when I'm like that, or I feel vulnerable when I express that. Right? And so we hold it back and we don't let it out onto the field. And so we die with those same wounds. We don't let them express. We don't achieve the balance. So that's the challenge, is letting go our resistance to ourselves. Yeah. See as they rise and play out against each other, one form against the next, and be with them as you are presence, as you witness the dialogue that plays out at your feet. Again, remember, it's beneath you. It won't take over, that you are the center, and this is an expression of you. Yeah, the abundance that surrounds you, the inner dialogue of your own expressions. And I love that too, that they refer to it as abundance. Again, it's that idea of the feelings being the caretakers, right, of who we are. That this is an abundance, that you are all these things, that you can be all these different types of you, is an abundance. That you are infinite. That is abundant. Yeah, let them rise as flowers and cities. Let them become and fade, rise and fall and play against each other now and find balance. And so notice the importance that these expressions come together and they interact and play off of each other. And that is part of how they find their balance. And so that's part of how they express, is through interaction with one another. Right? Harmonic rhythm. They say, let them meet each other now in dialogue with one another as you simply observe the movement, the cascades of energy moving across the grasses, the flowers. So it is through the interactions, interrelationships of things that we help to express who we are. Yeah. What will yield? What will rise? What will fall? So this is our mind coming back, and they say, let them be. Judge nothing. Understand nothing. Right? Simply be. Be the formless endowment of presence that witnesses the dialogue of your internal world as it plays out abundantly before you. Being earnestly. That makes me think of like Fantasia, like Mickey Mouse movie Fantasia, where it's pretty much just like cartoon fireworks. You're like, just be with it. Yeah. So, where was I? The internal world plays out abundantly before you, being earnestly with all that is within your heart, allowing it, being with it without comprehending, categorizing. The simple beat of your heart animates all things that move before you now. The simple beat, a cacophony of experience radiates from your heart space as if carrying the inner dialogue of your very soul. So here they're really bringing your attention to the idea that your heartbeat is not just a thump. Each one is like a symphony. Every heartbeat carries all the information of who you are and have ever been. And that is what's radiating outward and playing out these scenes all around you. And the heart can express itself a little bit here, a little bit there. It might play this part of the song, that part of the song, right? So it has all this, it's like this orchestra that can play in a million different ways. So yeah, so it's endless. And then, there it is. This you are watching play out at your feet like a screen of grass. So it's almost like there's this, like a screen, like a movie screen that's made of grass. And inner harmonies, inner turmoils, inner fighting of resistance and pushing. These are not felt so much as observed. So not to get drawn into things, right? And that's what happens when we're living our karmic lives, is we express something and then we get sucked back into the pattern. We let it out and we see the chaos and the karma and we're like, ooh, I got to get in that fight. Like I've got something to say. I got to get in there. And then we're in it and we're out on the field rather than being the observer back in our heart, which is where we're supposed to be. We're supposed to let it come to itself. And think about the wisdom of that when you are out in the world, say that, for example, that you go out today and you get triggered. Say that you're driving and someone honks at you and it makes you feel really like you feel anxious and you feel angry and you feel like all the things that happens when you get honked at. And in our usual way of being, we get sucked into that feeling and we start thinking about what you would say. You start thinking about why the other person was wrong or whatever we do. But in this state of mind, we stay back in the temple. We stay in the center of ourselves where the heart is, and we observe. We observe that play out. We observe the feelings rise and come into presence. And we observe the interaction between our feelings and the person that just honked us at us. And we're just noticing it. We're like, oh, that I see that. That did create a feeling of where I felt startled and I felt attacked. And let me notice that rise up, and I'm going to just acknowledge it. Yeah, I did feel that. Okay. And there it goes. And we stay in the space of presence, and the feeling is allowed to have its day. The feeling is, just because you're not in it doesn't mean the feeling isn't expressed. You're watching it come into form. You're witnessing it. You're being with it. You're allowing it to rise up. You're just not jumping in and making it bigger. That's the difference, right? We're staying in the experience of it. We're being with it. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that we want to bypass our feelings, that we have to process our feelings through our heart. But when we're in this state of mind, when we're in the center of our heart, we are processing it by letting them play all around us, by letting them come into form. So when we're not in this space, when we're up in a higher state of consciousness, they move up and through the body. They move up and out, not a higher state of consciousness, but in a more, I don't know what you would call it, when we're not in the super deep meditative state. Then our feelings come up and we feel them, right? We express them through the heart that way. But we can also do it this way, where we go into the temple and we let them play out all around us. Yeah. Which is super cool. And Lynette says, I have a lot of pain and sadness I'm trying to release, hoping this meditation will help. Yeah, it would be very, very interesting, Lynette. I'll be very curious if you bring that pain and sadness into the meditation and do the meditation and let it play out. Like let your heart sing that out into the meditation, and let it go crazy. Let it play, havoc on the grass around you, and be with it and just let it do its thing without judgment. I think that's the key. Yeah. And you're saying such an amazing, profound message just at a perfect time for me. Oh, I'm so glad. And you're saying feels like being led into self-realization. Yeah, I totally agree. And Teresa says tapping into Akashic field. Yeah. Kirsten says, oops, where'd you go? There you go. I'm definitely going to repeat this meditation for all the feels. Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, me too, for sure on this one. There it is. So then they go on to say, let them be free to be what they are. Be the witness of your journeys. Be in the center space of quiet while you perform this now, and be your own witness. Breathing into the quiet, deepening your experience, deepening your dialogue with this understanding, deepening your quiet, allowing the self to yield to what you are. And it's everything we're trying to do in our healing is letting go of resistance. That's everything. And the more that we can get out of our own way, then we will naturally find our balance. Yeah, we have to yield. Yield to this observing, letting all that plays out before you now rise up into the celestial heavens. So up until now, we've been in this sort of beautiful space where we've been watching the grass. Now they say, okay, imagine the roof comes off on our temple and it just expands up and over your head and up into the stars. And you're looking up all around you, and you are projected out into the galaxies, right? Out into the universe. They say, letting all that plays out before you now rise up into the celestial heavens and endow this entire space within which you sit with all that you are, as if you are in the center of the cosmos, watching the swirling undertakings of 1,000,000 universes play out among themselves. But all that is in view is what you are. And you are the central sun in dialogue with all that has ever been. So this is amazing, because there's so much to this. Is the idea that you are infinite, that you are part of the all that is, that everything that exists in the universe is part of who you are, and that the themes that we are playing out in our lives play out in the cosmos. So we are, in the same way that it's like everything is fractal, that the individual cell holds all the information of the entire being, right? You hold all the information of the universe. So the things that are playing outside your own heart are playing out in the entire cosmos. So we then look out into the cosmos and see ourselves. And then they say, you allow these aspects of who you are, the cacophony of experiences, to play, to be, to rise and fall. And in their own internal dialogues with one another, they find their balance through repetition, through expression, through internalizing their own experiences. So this is it. This is how we get to balance. This is how we unify ourselves, is by allowing these things to come forward, not to repress them, right? By allowing themselves to become replete with the inharmonious expressions that bounce and reform and replay and then come into congruence through this expressive dialogue. And you may simply be. So it's like you got to let it all dance. You got to let it come out and dance and do its thing and be itself. And then finally it's like, okay, fine, I was here. I was heard. Like if you've ever had that, like I remember back at the very beginning of my corporate career, my first job at Microsoft was I was in like a call center in the sales department with my very first job out of college. And we would get people at that time, like Microsoft was, like we had not enough people, and there would be people who would be calling in who would have to wait for literally, no joke, 2 hours on the phone, and they would be waiting for their sales rep to talk to them. And after those 2 hours, the phone system would just kind of break, and they would be sent back to us. And they would come, and we would pick up the phone as if they were a new call, like, "Hi, thank you for calling," And oh, were they mad? Like, mad does not cut it. Like, they were so mad. And so we all had to go through, like, rather than hiring more people, they gave us training on how to deal with mad people. And the mad people, what you're supposed to do when you get a mad person on the phone is you're supposed to acknowledge that they're angry. Like, you're not supposed to tell them why they shouldn't be angry or why it's going to be better. You're just supposed to say, I can see that you're very, very angry. Like I can feel that you're really upset right now. I can see that you're really, really, really mad. And when you do it, it's like somehow it like pops the balloon. And the person was like, oh, yes, I'm so angry. Like, yes, like this is terrible. And then you're just like, yeah, that is very frustrating. That's awful that you had to wait for 2 hours. Yes, that is what all our feelings want. Like all of our feelings need that. They need to be acknowledged. They need to have somebody say, wow, you feel really mad right now. And then when they're like, oh my gosh, you heard me, like you believe me, like this must have really happened because you believe me. And that's all they really want. Yeah. So we got to let it play out on the grass, play out on the sky. Yeah. So, yeah. They go on to say, be at the center of all that is your own soul and in this quiet and private temple of forgiveness. Now, there you go. They brought in a whole new concept here and made us realize what we're really doing, which is forgiving ourselves. Like forgiving all of the stuff that we judge ourselves for. We're forgiving all of our karma is what we're doing. By going through this process, we are trying to forgive our karma. Yeah. Allow yourself to soak in the understanding of your own body, of your body as an expression of its own wisdom. An expression of the harmony that wishes to come into truce with what you are. So here they're saying harmony is our natural state of balance, is our natural state. And all we got to do is get out of our own way. Without resistance, all falls into place and moves into presence with itself. Without resistance, all comes into its own service. And I'm feeling that there may be some people who hear that and who maybe are really going through a lot of physical difficulties and may feel like, wait a minute, you mean like I caused this for myself? And then that may make people feel bad, that made people, and I don't think that's what we're meant to do here. We are not meant to look at this and judge ourselves because we are, because we have illness. That's not the point. The point is to say we can get better. The fact is that everybody has disharmony in our bodies. All of us do. That we all have, and it expresses differently for each of us depending on the path we chose. But every single person in the world has what amounts to a pretty equal cup of poop in for themselves. Like everybody does. It just looks different. You could look at someone and it looks like they have their lives totally together, but they've got their cup. You just don't see it. And some people wear their cup really visibly. Like they wear it as major health issues, and that's their cup. And so if you are going through major health issues, don't feel like somehow it's that you're doing something wrong because you haven't balanced yourself. That is the human condition. And we are only now trying to understand, and they are only now trying to give us the tools where we can grow past that. So this is what this is about. Like this is what the shift is about. Of trying to get to a place where we can understand, right, how to move into balance. And so it's not that we were somehow late to the party. The party's just starting. That's the idea. Yeah. So in this space of peace, of internal aspected confidence, of your own sense of satisfaction within expression, you find yourself again. You find internal harmony. You find yourself the observer of all that you are from a quiet place of reflection. These placements, these dialogues that emanate from your heart space, these truths that are spoken from within you, find their freedom from the chaos of confinement to the freedom of expression. And look at that. I love that. Freedom from the chaos of confinement to the freedom of expression. So this has been the theme. The last several messages have been about this idea that the brain creates chaos because it creates separation. The heart creates unity. And I will tell you, I always thought of the energy of creation as being chaos. That was my understanding, because we think about entropy, that the things falling apart, and we identified, and I historically identified entropy, things falling apart, things, dying and all of that, as being a return to chaos. But I didn't understand that that is actually order, that is returning to order. It's returning to renewal and rebirth, that is the natural harmony of everything. And it's only as we move into separation that we create chaos. So we have it backwards. We think that the dark is like the thing we're supposed to be afraid of, right? In fact, separation is what we should be afraid of. Not really, because we're meant to have both. We're meant to be in unity while maintaining our separation, be in unity while maintaining our identity, right? Know who we are within the whole. So, but it's super important. I think this idea that nature, that this energy of creation is not the energy of chaos. It is the energy of returning things into order, taking chaos that was created by separation and bring it back into unity. That's the idea. So the chaos is the natural output of separation. It's the end life, the end game. It's the final hours, which makes perfect sense. Oh my gosh, because look at where we are as a society, right? We are at the end of this period of great imbalance where we've been out of balance into our masculine energy, and we're trying to move into wholeness. So we're moving the end game of separation, which is what we've been experiencing, is chaos, and then we're now returning to wholeness. Yeah. So it is not feminine energy to have chaos, and that was my misunderstanding. I think I have several videos out there where I say that, where I say feminine energy is chaos. Well, humble pie. Let's have some. So, okay. So then we go on to say, we learn as we go, right? We're not perfect. So then they say, in the space of peace, in the space of peace, where was I? Did I just miss that part? Yeah. Without resistance, all falls into place. Yeah. In this space of peace, of internal aspected confidence, of your own sense of satisfaction within expression, you find yourself again, you find internal harmony. You find yourself the observer of all that you are from a place of quiet reflection. These placements, these dialogues that emanate from your heart space, these truths that are spoken from within you, find their freedom from the chaos. Oh, I just said that, of confinement to the freedom of expression. And each breath is a release, a release, a release. Beautiful. Allow yourself to simply be, breathing in the gentleness of the breezes that meet you, understanding your horizons expand to infinity, and the dialogue is never done. So we are infinite, we're always, right? But the graces you shall meet that shall rise before you come into harmony when the presence that you expand is one of, that the presence that you expand is one of freedom. So here is the key: freedom to be. That is it. And if I had to wrap up her energy, that this energy of creation, this new great guide that has come through, that it is the energy of freedom. That it is about create, release, create, release, create, release. And I will tell you that has been one of the hugest lessons of my entire life. And it's been repetitive, that I move like every 2 years. I will build a house and then something happens, I have to sell it. I create, release, create, release. I've done it every 2 years. And it's just constant in my life. It's been for the last, forever. And major things, right? Major things. I build my dream house, boom, something happens, I had to let it go. And but that is the element, that is how to be in flow, is to create and release. Yeah, to be in freedom. Freedom to be, the gentleness at your center, the internal harmony that is your truth, the understanding self is where you meet. Breathing now and allowing yourself to rise. And then they bring us back basically into our body where we become the flower, the daisy, right? Expand in a circumference, guiding you upward, lifting a single stem up and through. You rise back into the presence of your body. So this is the end of the meditation, right? And then they say, and within this space, you carry your freedom. So bringing your freedom back, your freedom to be, your freedom of placement into this reality. So we were free to incarnate, right? The exchange, the dialogue of unity from within. The harmony that you have found may balance your internal chaos. So they're trying to help us bring the state that we've achieved back into our present moment, right? And then they say, allow a breath, allow your heart to beat, and allow its expression of the freedom that it seeks. Yeah, just a beautiful, beautiful experience, this meditation. So, and they never warned me. They didn't tell me it was going to be a meditation, but there you go. It was just I just loved it. So so I will figure out how to put this out so you guys can use it repeatedly. I'll figure that out, but I'll put it on I'll put it out as a video as usual, but I'll figure out how to make it so you can go right to the meditation as well. I'll think about that. So you guys, let's see what you guys are saying. Where are you? There you go. It says, Alia says, of course it will help. It will. You will start observing it from your heart space. Yes, beautiful. Gail says, I feel that the soul convergence sessions are all about healing that pain and sadness. This meditation is just another reminder to just be and let your heart lead. Yes, perfect, Gail. And Anna says, wow. Yes. Mary says, I feel like this is what yoga masters learn over a lifetime. And here we are learning it in this session. I will definitely be using this as a meditation while sitting in nature. I think that would be phenomenal, Mary. Yeah, you're right. I mean, this is the crash course. You know, they're giving us deep experiences. Feelings, April says, feelings want you to be the witness that validates their experience. Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Yeah. And they are, what did they say it was so beautiful, that they are they're the guardians of who we are. So of course they want us to witness them. Yeah. Rodney says order from chaos. Yeah. Mary says you need disequilibrium to gain equilibrium. Yes. Jean. Hey, Jean says the May peace bathing. Where did you go? There you go. The May peace bathing includes healing of our body parts, and relationship with our body, unity. Yeah, you're right. Thank you so much for reminding me about that, Jean. Yeah. Karen says, interesting. Bonnie says, I love that you're real. Thank you. Yeah, so real. It's awesome. Yep. But yes, thank you. I am glad for my realness too. Where did you go? See, Bonnie says, create release, the coast of Ecuador. Oh, let's see. I don't know that. Maybe explain that one. I don't understand. Don says, oh my goodness. I love that you're able to laugh at yourself. Thank you. Yeah. Let's say thank you. I love their wallpaper smiles at us. Thank you. Are you finding patterns in the wallpaper? And Don says, Indie. Yep, I noticed that too. LOL. That's so funny. Somebody else said that once too in the comments. They're like, yeah, there's like, oh, it does smile. I see in the thing. It's like two eyeballs and a smile. That is like a toothy grin. That is so cool. I'd love to say I planned that. It's like a toothy grin with very hairy eyebrows. I love it. All right, you guys, fantastic time to spend with you guys. Thank you so much. I will be, like I said, I'll figure out how to get this out to you guys in a way that you can just use the meditation if I can. Join me Saturday, tomorrow, if you can, on YouTube, 10 a.m. Pacific. I will put the link in the description box for you guys, and we'll be talking about soul convergence, answering any questions, and talking about some of the crazy stuff I have learned through the process of working with these meditations. Yeah, it has been definitely expansive in amazing ways. All right, you guys, sending you tons of love, and I'll see you next Friday live. Bye, you guys.